When Lex Luthor sends Superman straight into the heart of the sun, things don't go according to plan. Superman soaks up more solar energy than ever before. His powers evolve into godlike levels, but his body might not survive it. That's the launch point for All-Star Superman #1, one of the most celebrated stories ever told about the Man of Steel. Written by Grant Morrison, with art by Frank Quitely, and colors by Jamie Grant, this comic redefined Superman for a new generation. But what was really going on behind the scenes? In this video, I've got 2 exclusive quotes from the creators themselves, including one that gives rare insight into how this iconic series began, and why it still stands apart nearly 20 years later. Let's dig in. When Lex Luthor plants a trap for Superman during an astronaut mission deep into the heart of the sun, the superhero's cells soak up such high volume of solar energy that his strength is multiplied and he gains incredible new powers. However, his body is seemingly having trouble coping with the extra energy. Superman might be dying. As Lex is arrested again for his devious plot, Clark decides to let Lois in on his ultimate secret. The story continues in issue number 2. This issue was written by Grant Morrison. Morrison would write this 12-issue long run for the series. Born in Scotland, Morrison has written extensively for DC, including long runs on Animal Man, Doom Patrol, and JLA. They have written several miniseries like DC 1 Million and Final Crisis, both of which served as centerpieces for a company-wide crossover storyline. Morrison is also noted for being the co-creator of Damian Wayne. At Marvel, Morrison wrote a 3-year run on New X-Men and created the character Marvel Boy. Morrison's work has won numerous awards, including Eisner, Harvey, and Inkblot Awards. Penciler and one of the cover artists, Frank Quitely, aka Vincent Deegan, is also a fellow Scot. He often works very closely with Morrison on a vast array of titles like New X-Men and Batman and Robin. Deegan adopted the name Frank Quitely as he did not want his family to know about his underground comic work, worried that they may find it upsetting. This was one of the first works at DC and won him an Eisner Award for Best New Series in 2006, as well as nomination for Best Penciler and Inker. Inker, colorist, and the other cover artist, Jamie Grant, is also from Scotland. Grant is best known for his work on this series. His vibrant, painterly approach helped define the visual tone of the series, earning him both critical acclaim and an Eisner Award. Grant's career began in the UK comic scene, where he worked on titles like 2000 AD, before moving into major US projects for DC Comics. Grant is known for his technical mastery and expressive palette. Inker Phil Balsman worked on the first 8 issues of this maxi series. Balsman has worked extensively with DC and Wildstorm. He has worked on various series like The Authority, Ex Machina, and Planetary. Balsman also worked as a graphic designer, creating logos and visual identities for numerous comic projects. Speaking exclusively with Read the Freaking Comics, Balsman discusses this issue. What comes to my mind when All-Star Superman is mentioned is always my very first memory of it. Our department head, Nick Napolitano, called me into his office and gave me the script for All-Star Superman #1, saying, "Kenny Lopez and I think you'd be a good fit for this. Apparently it's going to be a big deal, very special, an opportunity to do something a little different." On my lunch break, I took the script and read the whole first issue. I read it through, got to the last page, and just kind of sat there for a moment. I realized that I felt really strange, as if I'd witnessed something important before almost anyone else. But sitting there, I realized that not only was this going to be one of the greatest Superman stories ever told, but that this would be one of the best projects I was ever going to be a part of. I didn't feel I was ready to even be a small part of such a great thing, but here it was, ready or not. This issue was edited by Bob Schreck and Brandon Montclair. Schreck is best known for his influential role as editor and marketing director at Dark Horse Comics in the 90s, co-founding Oni Press, as well as his time as editor for DC. Schreck left Oni Press to join DC as editor of the Batman titles, which included the acclaimed storyline Hush and the miniseries The Dark Knight Strikes Again, and Batman Year 100. Brandon Montclair has worked for both Marvel and DC. Early in his career, he edited titles like She-Hulk and Marvel Knights. He later gained recognition as a writer, co-creating Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur with Amy Reeder, a groundbreaking series that introduced Marvel's youngest super genius and earned widespread praise for its creativity and representation. At DC, he is noted for editing Batman, Superman, and Green Arrow titles. Executive editor at the time was Dan DiDio. Having joined DC just 3 years prior as vice president editorial, DiDio is also a writer for a 7-issue run of Superboy. He was promoted to vice president, executive editor in October of '04, and in 2010 he was named co-publisher of DC Comics, along with Jim Lee. As co-publisher, he oversaw the reboot of several DC titles and was the co-writer of the OMAC series with artist Keith Giffen. DiDio wrote a Challengers of the Unknown storyline for DC Universe Presents, which was drawn by Jerry Ordway. Speaking exclusively to Read the Freaking Comics, DiDio discusses this maxi series. All-Star Superman was the most complete Superman story. It's an excellent entry point for anyone wanting to learn about the character and the perfect blend of new and old concepts that make Superman great. This issue gives us our first look at the All-Star Superman logo designed by renowned graphic designer and book cover artist Chip Kidd. You may not be familiar with his name, but you know his work. One of his most famous book covers was for Michael Crichton's novel Jurassic Park. The logo carried over to the Spielberg film and all subsequent sequels, merchandise, cartoons, and comics. Kidd is a self-professed comic book fan and is considered one of the world's leading experts on Batman. He has written and designed covers for several books about Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Shazam, Spider-Man, and more. This issue marks the first appearance of Leo Quintum and his Project Moonbase. Leo is an extraordinarily rich scientist with altruistic goals. He was on the mission to the sun that Superman rescued, but is saddened to learn that Superman is now dying as a result. He puts his great scientific mind and wealth behind finding a cure or helping Superman create the next great hero for Earth after he is gone. A persistent fan theory suggests that Leo is a future version of Lex Luthor, who has traveled back in time as a way of seeking redemption. Grant Morrison has confirmed that they love the idea, but it's simply not true, and Quintum is truly a unique character trying to help the world. Oh, and the moon base called Project? That's actually not an acronym, it's just the name of the lab and the facility on the moon. This is not the first nor the last time a Superman story would heavily involve our sun in some way or another. In 1998, we had Superman Red, Superman Blue storyline. Here, he splits into two distinct personalities due to fluctuations in his energy absorption. Grant Morrison's Superman Prime 1 Million from the same year features a future version of Superman who lives inside the sun for 15,000 years, granting him godlike powers and a true golden appearance. An Elseworlds story from 2000 written by Steve Gerber called The Last Sun on Earth. This story is a flip on the typical take as it sees Superman sent from a dying Earth to Krypton, where he gains powers from their red sun. Jeff Loeb's Our Worlds at War from 2001 has Superman fly into the heart of the sun to recharge in preparation for a battle against Imperiex. Jump to 2015 and Jeff Johns' Superman Solar Flare run showcases Superman's newest ability, the Solar Flare, expelling all stored solar energy in a burst that leaves him temporarily depowered. Finally, Philip Kennedy Johnson's Action Comics War World run from issues 1035 to 1046 showcases Superman's powers on the decline as his body absorbs less solar radiation. Continuing on this theme, did you know that Superman's powers are dependent on the type of sun radiation he is absorbing? Simply put, a yellow sun gives him all his powers, a red sun takes them away, an orange sun weakens him, a green sun causes instability in his powers, while a blue sun supercharges him. Meanwhile, a white sun gives him immense godlike boost of power, while a black sun typically drains his power or has a corrupting force. Many of these odd suns were used in the goofy Silver Age of comics between 1956 and 1970. As mentioned, this comic is a maxi series, so what exactly is that? A maxi series refers to a comic book series with a longer, predetermined number of issues compared to a standard miniseries. These are often intended to tell a complete story within a limited, though longer, run. There isn't much more to say about this quintessential Superman story. From the epic opening panel to the jaw-dropping final page, this is a masterclass in storytelling from some of the finest writers and artists of the modern era. This issue has everything you need when kicking off a storyline from such a beloved character, a compelling plot that weaves its way through the entire run, an archetypal villain that makes Superman so exciting, and artwork so steeped in vibrancy they leap off the page. I'm a huge Superman fan, and this first issue, indeed this entire run, checks off all those boxes for me. I've seen issue 1 selling for as low as $10 on comicbookrealm.com. Mint or near mint issues are selling for as high as $332 according to pricecharting.com. I am seeing some 9.8 graded issues selling for $220 on eBay. In 2006, DC launched the Infinite Crisis 7-issue limited series, which was a sequel to the mid-80s Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline. They also launched 52, a weekly series that ran for 52 weeks and explored the DC universe outside the trinity of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and showcased some of the lasting impacts post-Crisis. 52 is not to be confused with the New 52, DC's company-wide rebrand that occurred 5 years later in 2011. 2006 was a good year for DC. Having roughly 37% of units sold and almost 35% of all revenue, they were a very close second to Marvel Comics that year. As far as film and TV properties, the Brandon Routh film Superman Returns hit the big screen that summer and generated $391 million, or about $628 million today. DC had a big presence on TV with no less than 5 shows airing new episodes at that time, while older animated shows like Batman, Superman, and Justice League remained mainstays on syndication. The live-action Smallville Smallville was on at that time, which focused on Clark's teen and early adult years before donning the cape and tights. Meanwhile, Justice League Unlimited, Teen Titans, The Batman, and Legion of Superheroes animated shows were all popular with kids and adults alike. According to Comicron, the estimated total North American comics market in 2006 was $575 to $640 million. Diamond Comics Direct reported almost 82 million comics shipped to comic shops in 2006. The top-selling comic of 2006 was Marvel's Civil War #2. In fact, Civil War issues dominated the top 5 positions that year for units sold. DC titles held positions 6 through 10, with the New Justice League of America and Infinite Crisis #4 through 7 rounding up the top 10. For DC alone, the top titles were JLA #1 and Infinite Crisis #4 through 7, plus JLA Preview issue #0, as well as the first and second issue of the aforementioned 52, plus All-Star Batman and Robin #4, rounding out the top 10. All-Star Superman was the 14th highest comic in terms of revenue for 2005, which is quite a feat given that it came out very late in the year. This issue was the 19th highest selling comic of 05 as well, beating out Ultimate Iron Man #1, OMAC Project #1, and X-Men Phoenix Endsong #1. 2006 was still a flux year when it came to comic advertising, but since this run was well anticipated, there were quite a few brands that happily purchased ad space in this title. Among them were Ubisoft promoting Kong video game for Game Boy Advance, Buena Vista's games Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge, a game based on the popular Tim Burton movie. The US Army was running ads promoting recruitment. Meanwhile, the tactical role-playing game Fire Emblem, developed by Intelligent Systems for the Nintendo GameCube, was running an ad as well. There was also an ad for Metroid Prime Pinball on the Nintendo DS. The video game promotion continues with Shadow of the Colossus for PS2 and cameo Elements of Power for the Xbox 360, plus Soul Calibur 3 on PS2. Outside of the video game world, the very analog book Lord Lost by Darren Shan was being promoted, as well as Charlize Theron's Aeon Flux movie, which was universally panned. Watch the anime instead, it's much better. There are 2 Batman-themed products being promoted. The first was a TCG by Upper Deck, and Mattel had an ad for the tumbler from Batman Begins. There were some ads for Juicy Fruit Gum, an ad for the Masters of Horror series on Showtime. This week I wanted to find a Superman-themed comic shop. If you're in the area, I recommend you check out Metropolis Comics at 250 East Palm Drive in Florida City, Florida, or check them out at metropoliscomicsmiami.com. Thanks for watching this deep dive into All-Star Superman #1, one of the greatest Superman stories ever told. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss future episodes. I've got more exclusive creator insights and comic deep cuts coming your way every week. Drop a comment below. What's your favorite Superman story? Do you think All-Star Superman really captures his essence? And as always, don't forget to read the freaking comics.